Hey guys, Basement Horrors here, and welcome to True Horror Stories number 15. I'm surprised that we're already at 15. It seems like just yesterday I was on my crappy mic, which I destroyed by the way, and yeah, starting the first video. Anyway, if you actually want to see me destroy that video, there'll be a link to my second channel, there always is, in the description, and you can follow that to my second channel where I destroyed my old mic. It was absolutely fantastic. It felt amazing, and afterwards, yeah, we sent him off really good. We lit him on fire. It was perfect. Anyway, this video, True Horror Stories number 15, is going to be about people who were followed home. Now, these are honestly some of the creepiest, because not only does it involve stalking, but sometimes it's just random people who end up following you home, which I don't know if can be considered. Sorry, I don't know if that can be considered stalking, but you know, they're just all around some pretty creepy, disturbing stories. So these are the ones I'm going to read to you today. But I want to inform you that for the first 3 stories, I'm going to be reading them in 3 different ways. The first story, I'm going to read it in the way I usually read it. The second story is going to be a more sort of slowed down, like this is the way I normally read, like, this happened about a year ago, and I thought I would share it. That's the first line, that's how I usually read it. And then the second story, I'll read it like this. This happened about a year ago, and I thought I would share it. And then the third one will be like, I don't know, maybe I'll just do 2, I can't really think of a third one. Anyway, I'm going to do, actually I'm going to do it on and off. The first story, I'll read it normal. Second story, I'll read it all slowed down. Third, normal. Fourth, you know what I mean. So in the comments, I want you guys to tell me if you guys like tactic number 1 or tactic number 2. Of course, tactic number 1 being just reading out like this happened about a year ago, and I thought I'd share it. Or number 2, this happened about a year ago, and I thought that I'd share it, you know? So make sure you guys tell me that in the comments when I'm done. The whole story, don't just base it off that sentence, because, you know, it gets different when you're reading a whole entire, story. So yeah, tell me that in the comments, which one you prefer after the video. And also tell me if you have any of your own personal stories. Remember, the Halloween collaboration is still a long way off, but as not everybody has their own Halloween experiences, I want you viewers, even if you don't want to be in the collaboration yourself, to send me your personal Halloween stories. Now, they have to be true Halloween stories, things that happened on Halloween, okay? And yeah, I've been, rambling, getting my words jumbled. That was really bad. I've been rambling for about a minute, maybe. So now we're gonna get on to the stories. Holy crap, you guys, I just now went and looked back before I started the narration of the story to see how long the intro actually was, and that was 3 minutes and 9 seconds. 3 minutes and 8 seconds, I'm sorry. I am sorry about that. I had no idea. I really ramble when I ramble. Alright, so go ahead and I'm going to start story number 1 now. And remember, it's going to be tactic number 1 for the first story. This happened about a year ago, and I thought I would share it. This is when I lived in a sketchy city, full of crime and all that. I was driving up a one-way street, leaving my mom's house, who lived 5 minutes away from me. I was trying to turn right onto a busy street, which led directly to my house. I was getting annoyed after sitting there for 3 minutes, as no one was letting me go. Then, to make matters even more annoying, a gold van started driving past me, and then came to an almost complete stop. He drove super slow by me, staring at me the whole time. I thought it was strange, and of course annoying, considering he didn't let me go. A few other cars drove past, until I was finally able to go. I got to a stoplight, then proceeded when it turned green. I looked in my rearview mirror about a minute or 2 later, and saw the same gold van behind me. I could see the same dude in the mirror, and his eyes were directly on me. I thought it was strange. How did this dude pass me, then end up right behind me again? I brushed it off, and kept driving the next few minutes towards my apartment complex. As my apartment complex was coming into view, the guy was still behind me, and I didn't think much of it since it was such a short drive. I turned onto the street where I would park, and stopped to get ready to parallel park. This dude stopped right behind me, so I put my blinker on to signal that I was trying to park. He stayed there for a minute, and I was getting annoyed and also nervous. He then realized what I was doing and drove past me, but turned the corner and parked on the street in clear view of me. He sat there staring at me, and then looking away, as if trying to make it seem like he wasn't following me. I then was super nervous, and my gut told me to turn off the car and run. So I did. I ran into my apartment so fast, I don't think he even saw me. Now, the kitchen in my apartment has a clear view of my car. I was on the 3rd floor. So as I got in, I looked out the window to find him walking to my car, peering my window, looking confused as to where I was. I then saw him walk away, and from my kitchen, I could only see my car and not his. I stayed there for about 10 minutes, and sure enough, the dude looped the block about 5 times looking for me. I have no idea what I dodged that day, but I'm so glad I ran into my apartment and didn't wait to see what his intentions were. So, creepy dude, in your creepy gold van, let's not meet. Okay guys, so that was tactic 1. I'm not sure if I like it too much, actually. I think it's kind of fast. It's like the way I'm talking now. It's just kind of fast and hard to get into. By the way, I just want to let you guys know that story number 1 that I just did and story number 2 are going to be the only 2 stories that don't have any music, because I think music adds a lot to narrations, and if I have one piece of music on one and a different one on the other, it can totally, just alter it. So, no music on the first 2. So that's why. But don't worry, the other, however many are going to have music. So, anyway, tactic number 2, story number 2, here we go. To start, I need to describe the setting where this took place. I was walking north on an avenue that had traffic coming towards me, which was farther to my left, and traffic going the same way as me, which was directly to my left. I was headed north on a very popular avenue, and seeing as it was around 4 p.m., there was quite a bit of traffic because everyone was coming home from work. In my line of vision, I noticed a dark green van driving slowly towards me. At first, I assumed that they were slowing because they were approaching a red light. But when I looked, the light was green. It was at that moment that I saw a head begin to crane its way out of the van, and he was looking right at me. I immediately reached for my purse and removed my pepper spray, preparing it for this escalated. Thankfully, the van pulled into a neighborhood, and it was out of my immediate line of vision. I had only walked a few more steps when the van merged again, this time to the side of the road that was directly to my left. He was staring at me again. While staring, he dialed a number on his phone and spoke for about 10 seconds before the traffic piled behind him and he sped up. This time, he turned into another neighborhood and went back to his original side of the road. He was circling me in broad daylight. I went into panic mode and texted my best friend, who doesn't live too far from me, and he told me that it was okay for me to run to his house. I should mention that originally I was walking to my boyfriend's house, which is about another hour from my house. To get to my friend's house, I had to cross a stoplight. It was a very small intersection, so I was praying that the dark green van would not show up again. When a black truck pulled up, I breathed a sigh of relief. The light took a long time to change, so I was waiting for the light for a good 2 minutes. It felt like somebody was staring at me, so I started to crane my head toward the black truck. He was looking right at me and talking on the phone. The alarm bells went off again, and I was hoping that this stupid light would change so I could run across the street into my friend's neighborhood. Thankfully, the truck didn't go straight ahead into the neighborhood like I was doing. He turned left, and that was the last I saw of him. My friend was walking from his house to meet me to make sure I was okay, so I took comfort in this fact. When I saw him, I ran to him and walked on the side of the sidewalk, not near the road. My stomach turned again, and I felt a need to turn around. There was the dark green van in all of its creepy glory. I assumed that since he saw me walking with someone, he chose not to antagonize me anymore. I don't know for sure if the man in the dark green van and the man in the black truck were connected, but they both gave me the same vibe. The most upsetting part about this whole ordeal is that it happened right in the middle of the day. I can't even fathom why someone would actively try to follow a young girl in the middle of the day. Girls know they aren't safe at night. Are we supposed to shack up our houses during the day now too? Alright guys, so that was tactic number 2. I don't know which one you guys enjoyed, but, tell me in the comments, for the first tactic, and, which would be story number 1, just, put story number 1, tactic number 1, or gold van, or if you like the second one better, story number 2, tactic number 2, or green van. Alright, so now we're done with all this crap, and we can get on to the actual, main part of the video. I'm just going to do whichever one feels natural, the first or the second tactic, whichever one feels like it's natural and feels like it's what the story should be told in. And we'll have some music. So here we go. Number 3. So this happened 2 years ago in the summer. My friend and I go on walks at night. It was around 11, and we went on the main street of my small town. No cars were passing by, so the only lights we had were the lampposts, but they're kind of far apart. Anyways, we were right next to the funeral home, and me being me, trying to tease my friend, I said I wanted something scary to happen, because we were watching scary videos before we left. After I said that, I heard something in the tree that was next to the home. I looked up and saw someone all in black. But I just kept on walking, because I was too scared to actually say anything, and I was just hoping that whoever I saw didn't notice that I looked. While I was still walking, my friend stops right next to the tree and says, "Did you see that?" asking me if I saw what she did. After she said that, I started running and she ran after me. After that, we went to my house because we were too scared to walk around town anymore. When we got back to my house, we were home alone because my parents were always gone and my sisters already moved out. Since I lived on the edge of the town, there are just some old buildings that are behind my house and they have lights that are on all the time. The town of course owns the buildings, but it's rare that they visit. We went into the kitchen and looked out the back door since it's one of those sliding glass doors. I couldn't believe my eyes. I saw the man again, and so did my friend. He was just standing there in the light of the old buildings. It was like he knew we were watching him. It seriously looked like something straight out of a horror movie. After what seemed like forever, I finally got the courage to turn off the kitchen light. I just told my friend that we were going upstairs to my room. I was so close to calling the police, but when we got up to my room and looked out the window, he wasn't in the backyard. We stayed up all night trying to see if the man would try to stalk us again, but nothing happened. To this day, I still mention it sometimes to my friend, and she gets mad and says not to talk about it. She always said it was my fault and that I jinxed it. I guess it really scared her because now she'd rather have me stay at her house when we have sleepovers. Number 4. This was in January of 2016. I'm female and 15. I'd gone up to the shopping center that's about a 30-minute walk from my house. I had taken the bus up there, but it only stops at the shopping center about once an hour. Well, I usually take the bus home from the shopping center near my house. The bus wasn't due for another 45 minutes by the time I had done what I needed to do, and my 10-year-old brother was at home alone. My mom has no problem with leaving my brother home alone for an hour or two because he can take care of himself for that long. So, I decided to walk back to my house instead of waiting basically an hour for the bus. On my way home, I saw a man, maybe 40 to 45 years old. He was walking the opposite direction to me. I was walking south and he was walking north. As he turned the corner to walk towards me, I got the impression that he didn't look right. Probably because as he was walking, he was just staring at me. And as I passed him, I got a sinking feeling. Like when you're on a plane and it starts to descend, and you get that weird feeling in your stomach. As I continued to walk, I felt like someone was following me. So when I got to a bus stop that I was passing, I made it look like I was just checking the bus times, which gave me an excuse to turn around. And once I did, my heart started racing. This dude had changed direction and turned 180 degrees to walk in the same direction as me. I was still walking south, and he turned around to do the same. he was walking faster than before, and this freaked me out. I was close to the road that I would usually turn up to get to my house. I turned up the street and walked about 25 meters when I heard a crunch of a chip packet that I knew I had passed. He was still behind me. I decided that I'd cross the road to put more distance between us, and also to get to that street that was across from mine. From here, I could go a longer way home. This longer way had a lot more corners, making following me a lot harder to do. This street also had a lot of teenagers who were home due to it being summer holidays. So if the guy tried anything, there were a lot of people who would likely hear me screaming. Now you may be wondering, why didn't you call the police? I had been stupid and left my phone at the house, so I had no chance of calling the police while walking. Even if I did have my phone, I probably wouldn't have called out of fear of provoking something. I'm about 172 centimeters, 5'7", and weigh about 64 kilograms, 141 pounds. While my weight is mostly muscle, I'm not large enough to take on someone who's roughly 6 foot tall and looked like they weighed over twice of what I did. So I was going along the long route when I turned to look behind me. He was still there. This is where I started a plan to get back to my house. I turned the next corner and sprinted along the path as quietly as I could. I was on my house's street. If I was going straight home, I would have gone left, but I went straight ahead towards a smallish park that was just up the street from my house. The reason I did this was because I could go up and through and around the park to get to my house. As I was crossing the road to get to the park, I looked back and saw him jogging up the path I'd just come from. He saw me and started sprinting towards me. Luckily, I had a roughly 150 meter head start. I ran through the park, up and around to the left. The streets behind the park is like a maze, so this gave me a slight advantage. Once I was behind the park and out of its sight, I continued sprinting for a house that had an old shed in its front yard. The shed was empty and the door was open as always, so I hid in there, able to look out through the mirrored window, and he was looking around for me. He then walked the way that I had planned on going to get to my house. I was too scared to leave the shed, so I waited about 10 minutes before I saw him walking back towards the end of the park on his phone. I heard part of what he was saying, and the other end, yeah, I lost her. But I think she lives around here. She's crafty though. After he passed, I waited another 10 minutes before leaving the shed and sprinting towards my house. I called my mom, who called the police, who, in turn, called me. I gave a description of the man and refused to leave my house alone for a whole week. I've never seen him again, and the police report hasn't come up with anything. So, creeper stalker guy, let's not meet. Number 5. My boyfriend is in a band, and my sister and I always go to the gigs. He lives in a small city outside a larger city that he always plays in, and we were heading to his house afterwards. My sister and I decided it would be funny to buy him a card, like a child's birthday card, and scratch half of it out to make it fit for the first gig of the year. We go to Walmart, and as soon as we get inside, we were followed by 2 men, both in their mid to late 20s. My sister and I are 18 and 20, respectively. I've been followed in places before, and it's always an uncomfortable experience, so we try to lose them. We eventually do, after fast walking through random aisles for 10 minutes. We buy the card and some snacks and head back out to the car. We sit in the parking lot for a bit as we scratch out what we wanted on the card and head over to my boyfriend's house. The guys were watching us from across the parking lot and peel across it to follow us out. At this point, I noticed and I'm really freaking out. My boyfriend's house is not on a busy road, so we know they're not just happening to go the same way. I call my boyfriend about halfway to his house, the 2 guys following us very closely. I explain to him what's happening, so he comes outside and waits for us on the porch. We pull into his driveway and stay in the car for a minute. The 2 guys drive by really slowly, then speed down the road. My sister and I go inside, we're really shaken up. We notice for the first half an hour or so, the guys drive by several times, each time really slowly. We lock the doors and windows and pull up all the blinds, and that night we all slept in the living room. So, creepy Walmart guys who decided to follow us home, let's not meet. Alright guys, I hope you liked the video. Tell me which kind of storytelling method, tactic number 1, tactic number 2, whatever you want to call it. Tell me which one you preferred in the comments. Also, you have any personal true horror stories, especially Halloween, email me. Email's in the description. Also, you want to see me destroying my old mic, that is, you can click on the screen. Or you can go in the description, just click on my second channel and make sure you subscribe to that too. Anyway, I'm really tired. I'm gonna go to bed now. See you guys on Tuesday. Have a horrific day. 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 Horrific day.